to the Nutrimedical Report, and we have Pete Fedek here, my upline and expert manager of Karatbars Business. And Pete, one of the things I find is nice. I like to deal with I call intellectual fencing or mixed martial arts. And some people, one of the first objections that I've heard that the average non-thinking person might say is, I can go to a gold broker and buy gold cheaper than I get in a Karatbar. But number one, the Karatbar currency is value added. It's a LBMA currency that's literally vaulted because it's in a special card, which certifies it is not less than. So if you went to a pawn shop and bought gold or sold gold at say a gram, you're not going to get spot price because they're not going to know if it's 100% gold. It doesn't say certification on it. It's LBMA gold certified 99.99%. And the most important thing of all, and this is why Ted Anderson, who actually is the founder of Genesis Network, and sells gold and silver to people that want to buy gold and silver, special coins that may have special markings on them. He knows and this is why he's our upline. He knows this is a gold-backed currency. It's the first gold-backed currency on Earth. It actually has gold, and this is what people don't realize. This is a replacement for all devaluation currencies that are prone to international banking and to the global elite devaluing them. And the only way they can deal with the debt, because that's what they've been crushing nations with, debt and war, is if they can devalue the currency by bailing and stealing your pension funds and money. And they are gradually decreasing the money by 2 or 3% per year, but there's a crash coming. And it may come in various, I call micro crashes before the major crash. I expect the first major micro crash or mega crash, or whatever in between, this fall, because the temporary giving of $70-some billion to help the Greeks continue where they don't fix the structural problem of the debt is where 90% of that money passes through to the banks themselves and only 10% goes to the Greeks, and their economy is contracted 25%. Every Greek citizen needs to not move to the drachma, but to move to Karatbar currency, because by the end of the year, if they had Karatbar currency, what I want to see is a thing called electronic bartering, cybernetic system that's fully encrypted, so someone can register so many pounds of feta cheese. Because, by the way, the European Union limited the amount of feta cheese the Greeks could sell within the European Union. I mean, is that crazy or what? But this is why the Greek economy is collapsing, why they can't even afford social services or hospital care. So a mother and her son a year and a half ago jumped off a bridge in Athens and killed themselves. So what people need to understand here is that this is not a situation that's reasonable. The only solution is to disconnect from these other currencies, the dollar, the euro, all these other currencies, because eventually they're going to be devalued to the point where people's value, their money in the bank, their mortgage value in their home, their pension funds are all going to go bye-bye, because the only way the bankers can deal with this situation worldwide is to devalue the currency and completely wipe out any savings of anybody in every nation, period. And the only solution to that is gold-backed currency that is a credit-based economy where you can, say, barter, electronic barter with an encrypted network, so neither FBI or CDC or the NSA, the No Such Agency, or the MI5 or MI6 or CSIS in Canada can hack in and either get a portion of your money or know what you're doing. It's none of their damn business. And I really am excited about Karatbar currency, because I think what people need to realize, this is a value-added-in system that allows you not only save but sponsor other people to save. It's a way that eventually, by the end of the year, will be actual currency with gold in it, and electronic fractional sales where vendors can actually buy and sell not in dollars or euros or any other currency, including rubles or renminbi, but in Karatbar currency. And this is literally going to start replacing everything, including Bitcoin, which is based on nothing other than number crunching and calling mining currencies based on databases. This is completely different, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's an excellent analogy when you talk about pricing, because normally when you get a minted coin from a government institution, whether it's South African or French or Swiss or U.S. government or Canadian, those are all minted by the government, and they can all be recalled. Number one, it's not technically yours. They could recall them. Now, good luck in enforcing that, but they could technically recall that and confiscate it if you try and use it, or even
Right.
come house to house. But people lose sight of the fact that once gold that has been vaulted is worth more than gold that has been shipped. And so,
yeah, explain that, because I think what you show is in the Karatbar card, that is a vaulted form of gold, isn't it?
That's right. It's effectively a traveling vault. And people that do study gold do understand that once gold has been shipped, it now becomes the onus of the person that has received it, if they want to exchange it, again, to prove that it is the weight and purity that they claim it to be. And that's why if you go to a pawn shop or somewhere else, they will not give you the spot price, because they are assuming the risk that the gold is what you say it is. But they haven't done more than a cursory test of it. They can't melt it down and assay it, so to speak.
Right.
And with Karatbars, the gold is provided by what's called an LBMA certified refinery, which it's very difficult to get into the LBMA. LBMA first of all stands for London Bullion Market Association, and that is the only gold that is being used by the big banks and governments to settle international debt. And so to have that designation, there's only 55 of those refiners in the world, and that's the only type of gold that Karatbars will use. And so the gold itself is stamped by that refiner as to the weight and purity, and that's what the LBMA designation means. They're known to be in good conscience and good standing to be shipping the weight and purity that they claim they are shipping. And so they stamp the gold itself with the weight and the purity in their hallmark on the front side, and on the back, Karatbars adds a security feature with a logo on it, and also there's on the card itself there is effectively what's called a black light security feature on board. It is signed by the LBMA authority, so that's on file, and it is serialized, so you could actually check it out as to the lot and so forth. But on top of that, it's also laminated into place onto these cards that they're using, and so it is actually tamper-proof and counterfeit-proof, which is a huge deal. I mean, I don't understand why anybody would try and counterfeit a gram at a time, because it's just not cost-effective to do so. But nevertheless, you know that you're getting 24 karat, 49 pure, 1.01 grams actually of gold when you buy a Karatbar 1 gram unit. So that's that's
the reason for the difference in the value added. It's also what people should understand. When you're doing this, also you're literally creating a gold-based credit economy, not a fractional reserve debt-based economy. And here's where I see this connecting. And I have this vision, and I've been working on it for years. And I spoke recently to Professor McCanny about the idea of having a peer-to-peer encrypted network. So we use non-prime number system encryption. So you could literally have someone, let's say, in France, and they have so much grapes or wine. And someone in a different place, let's say an engineer or someone that provides dental services, they can literally register that they're going to provide X amount of dental services. Once it's certified, those are available. They could then have that credit to buy other goods and services with Karatbar currency, say next year when this is available. And what I'm saying here is gold can become the standard of an international credit-based economy that completely sidesteps the current economy that's going to be destroying the world. And the current debt situation is a stage before World War III, which is a giant genocide or eugenics program. In other words, Karatbars is one of the major solutions to the economic chaos that the global bankers are bringing on the world as a prelude to World War III and the international chaos. Pete, let's go through some of the details of not only the pricing, but how to build a business. And I tell people, this, as it expands out and adds other features to it, is an amazing business. And it's going to be one of these solutions as it adds further features like Karat currency and Karat exchanges internationally. You'll be able to, let's say, take a cruise line and pay for it in Karat currency and fractional grams of gold. And as the economies of the world and the currencies devalue, because let's say the stock market in China went down 35% 50% roughly in the last month and a half. The ruble dropped 50% since last year. The only currency hasn't fallen as fast as the dollar, but it's all relative. Every currency is falling. And the price of gold, and I tell people this, you have to understand the mechanics, because I have a nonlinear mind, which is why I'm good at mathematics. The sign to watch for the collapse of the world economy isn't the rise of the price of gold. It's the drop. And the reason is the international bankers manipulate paper gold in the London exchange. It was Lord Evelyn Rothschild sitting at his morning tea in Greenwich Mean Time in London, and they're pushing the price of gold down with paper gold, not delivered gold, so that when the final collapse of the currencies occur and they devalue everybody's currencies and bail in people's pension funds and money all over the world, and which they're planning to do, it's going to come in what I call waves of disaster. What will happen is that the gold buyers will be able to buy gold at, say, $800 or $900 an ounce. That's, for example, I'm just putting out a number, and not at 4 or 5 or 10,000, because if they actually let the market go where it should have, naturally, gold would already be around $10,000 to $12,000 an ounce, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And pricing is a very curious subject. When people start looking at Karatbars, I hear this very often, that I can get a gram of gold for $35 per gram, and
right.
That's all well and good. I can get it for free, and I can get it for free repeatedly if I'm willing to exchange just a little bit of labor for it. And
right.
That's something you can't do with any other gold supplier that's out there. Karatbars is the only supplier that allows you and I to put in a little bit of work in exchange for free gold. In other words, nothing out of pocket.
Right, and you're also exchanging for a non-fractional reserve currency. You're taking your fractional reserve money, which is dollars or euros or whatever you're using around the world. 124 countries I think now for Karatbars, and you're exchanging it for something that in a year, 2, 3, or 4 years, when these disasters happen, because they will, if the Mideast war expands, the oil will stop at the Strait of Hormuz. If the Greek debt isn't able to continue in the fall, you know that the only solution to the Greek situation is that they literally send in NATO troops and have a military takeover of the Greek government. That's coming. The rise of the United States of Europe in the next, say, 5 years is a certainty. And the reason is because the global bankers are not going to write off the debt. This next year is the Shemitah year where they're supposed to write off the debt. And because the debt-based economy by international bankers have maintained control of the world, the debt's so big now that nobody could pay it off. Even 150 Earths couldn't pay off the debt. And as a result, the only way, and this is like a mathematical principle, it's not something that's, corollaries, it's not something that's disputable, the only way for the globalists is to take their fractional reserve currencies, drive the price of gold as low as they possibly can get, which is not easy because everybody in the world that's smart, Chinese and Indians, are buying gold, even illegally, as much as they can get physical gold in their hands because they know the day of reckoning is coming.
Absolutely. When you go to buy gold, one of the things that you find is, you can get it cheaper, but number one, it's not in a traveling vault.
Right.
In terms of vaulted gold, Karatbars is one of just 4 companies that I can find that actually offer substantially similar pricing. And of those, Karatbars is at or below their given price on a daily basis. Some of them are significantly more. Some of them are, a few euros less or a few euros more on a given daily basis. But in the long run, it still comes down to we can get gold for free, and so the price doesn't really reflect that. Secondly, when you try and order that gold, you find all kinds of little things. First of all, there's typically a dollar minimum or a gram minimum when you try and order, or they're always out of stock, as it turns out. And you find out a lot about these things, or it's pretty significant shipping for less than such and such an amount, or storage is not free, like it is with Karatbars. If you want to just store it for the time being in a vault until you've accumulated some and then have it shipped. There's all kinds of little nuances that you find when you're trying to just do only price comparison that people miss. And so I've seen that time and again where people say, I can get it for this price, but it's not even in stock. It's not available.
Right.
We just heard, it was about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, that the U.S. Mint stopped printing silver eagles. Well, why is that? I mean, the demand is as high as it's ever been, and even though the price is low, demand is just roaring mad, and the price is going down. That's just absurd. They are trying to force people to stay in their paper money.
Right.
Go ahead.
Exactly. And so what people understand is when you build this business, you have three aspects. Number one, you're encouraged. It's basically a savings club. You're saving a currency that's not fractional reserve currency. You're building a business that's actually going to downline. If you follow the 12-week plan where everybody just purchases, say, a bronze, which is like $113 US, and 1 gram of gold, which is around $55 per week, and you sponsor one person a week, within 12 weeks, what would your income be? I think it's around $4,500 per month, is it? You would actually, the formula is actually a little bit more complicated than that, but in principle, if you came in with what's called a bronze package and you bought a gram per week, and you found two people your first week who bought a bronze package and bought a gram per week, and helped them to find their first two people their first week, and that propagated out for 12 weeks, he'd actually be making about $4,500 per week. Per week, not a month. Wow. That's a
perfect world, of course. But
now let's put it this way: the average person that would go bankrupt needs $400 a month. They've done a study on this. I think it's like 95% of people, if they had another $400 a month, they wouldn't go bankrupt. This country, the middle class under Obama, 90% of the new jobs are what we call mixed jobs. They're part-time. They're paid minimum or slightly above minimum wage. People need an extra $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month. They can have, number one, a savings. It turns out 50% of the people that are heading toward their retirement have less than $10,000 saved for their entire retirement. They also have their savings in fractional reserve currency that people like Obama wants to give away to hundreds of thousands of Muslims or illegals, and is literally contracting the economy under his aegis. And this is the antidote for it. Karatbars currency and the Karatbars world is going to change everything. And welcome back. And Pete, our mentor here at Genesis Network and founder of Midas Resources, Ted sees this as a gold economy. And again, it goes beyond buying just gold and silver as a commodity or even as a collectible. You can buy gold coins as a collector because they may have unusual markings or a certain denomination or age of the coin that has a specific intrinsic value if you're collecting with people who want to exchange. When you have a gold economy, it's a completely different thing. You have value added in because it becomes a currency and exchange means, and these new aspects of Karatbar currency are unique in the world. In fact, in the world history, I call it the gold tally stick. And it turns out the tally stick, which is used throughout Europe, was actually used longer than exchange of even gold currencies for many centuries. And what they would do is they would buy and sell and exchange based on these things like tally sticks. Well, with a gold-backed currency that is vaulted in the actual currency, and there are currency notes coming out at the end of the year, and the exchange that can be done by an encrypted network, similar to, let's say, credit cards, only this is not credit, it's actual gold. It basically is a credit-based currency that is not fractional reserve. This is not a fractional reserve currency. It actually is going to be undepletable. In other words, it's a currency that can't be devalued because you can't just print a whole lot more as a politician to get yourself elected or give out more goodies, which they eventually can't afford. And this is what's happening with Obama. Obama was basically elected. It's like a statement by political scientists over the past several centuries that have said, you have to be wary of politicians who can buy their way into the public's heart by literally, creating taxes or creating money to put forward a false economy that eventually will collapse on itself. And that's what's happening under Obama. He's basically been elected to give away things that he doesn't have and to print them. And this is what all the economies are doing. And, of course, there's a day of reckoning. What I see happening is this is a way for people to listen to this program and people to grasp the vision of a credit-based economy that eventually will be, let's say you're providing a service, you'll be able to buy and sell in credit currency, so Karatbar currency, so you can actually, let's say, take a cruise or book an airline ticket or buy food or use services you can provide. So in other words, you fractionally can provide a service and immediately get a credit for that through an electronic barter system based on Karatbar currency, which is one of the things I see down the road is a real possibility that will also get aside from the banks having total control of your money, including making sure that you don't even have physical money anymore. This is what Janet Yellen's up to. So eventually they will require biometrics to go wherever you want to go, and your own currency will not exist in your pocket anymore. It'll exist as divots in their supercomputer, and they'll have total cybernetic control of you using your body biometrics to control you. This is literally a way of us disconnecting with that fractional reserve matrix type system, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I hate sounding like I'm into fear porn, which is the world's going to collapse and we're all going to die and it's the end of the world or what have you.
No, it's the beginning of a new world, not the end of a bad situation, which literally resulted in the wars over the last few centuries, which are all banker wars. All the wars since the Napoleonic War have been, and before that was other basically royal families warring with each other because they had rebellious lords underneath them, and they wanted to literally kind of straighten things out by literally creating battles with their relatives in other countries in Europe. Well, that's what's happening. In the last 2 centuries, all the wars have been banker wars.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, so I like to look at Karatbars as it's a universal solution to the worldwide debt savings and currency crisis. And so what we're doing is we're doing something positive. We're taking action on it. And I know it may sound like a little bit of fear porn, but the first step you have to take is, number one, get your money out of harm's way. Get it out of the banks, out of the brokerages, etc. Because otherwise it's going to be confiscated. It's happened. It's happening now. And people are just lackadaisical about it. But go ask somebody in Argentina or Cyprus or Venezuela or Greece right now, or even Detroit a couple of years ago with when the pensions collapsed there. And people are taking 90% haircuts on their pensions. It's going to come. It's coming here. And
that's true. The Chinese, for example, sign contracts to receive food. Well, with a 35% collapse in their economy, they may not have the money to feed their entire population. They have this policy. They started with communism back in the 1940s called the Iron Bowl, which basically Iron Rice Bowl, where they weren't going to let anybody go to starve. But again, it's like the statement in Cuba. The Cubans say basically the government pretends to pay us and we pretend to work. Well, you can't run a world on that. And you can't run a world on promises, which is what politicians like Obama and a lot of the bankers have done, is create debt and then give things that temporarily seem to be a solution, but in the long run it's actually the death knell of a nation. So America's dying. I mean, the debt right now, our infrastructure is falling apart because we won't spend the money to fix our infrastructure. Our military is being defunded and shrunk now, so it's the smallest it's been since the Second World War. We have a politician who continually wants to just leave open borders and 122 sanctuary cities because they won't protect the population from dangers and pass things like Kate's Law. And it starts with us as what we call real patriots and people around the world in other countries saying, hey, we're going to disconnect from this system. This system is literally going to bring destruction on our heads. When people can't buy food, for example, when the fish stalls in Greece are throwing fresh fish out because they can't sell it and people are starving, when the economies start to collapse in China and they can't buy enough of the contracts they've actually purchased for grains and rice and other things to actually feed their own people, things are going to get nuts. And people say, well, that can't happen. I said, it's going to happen as early as this fall. I believe that the first, what I call micro catastrophe, and I don't know how big it'll be, but it'll be big. You're going to start seeing a lot of these currencies start to belly up. And as they start to fall like a Jenga stick, like Greece, that's why they're so panicky about the Greeks leaving. this is only a temporary solution. Eventually, something like the Strait of Hormuz will close because of war in the Middle East, which is, by the way, by the masters of chaos, which is always the banks, and our proxy government, U.S. government, Obama, is literally drop shipping equipment and airdropping equipment to ISIS. And people say, well, how's this all connected? Well, it's connected because the banks are always behind chaos. Chaos creates war, which creates more debt, which creates more power and more currency control. And that's the real issue, is all the wars and all of the economic chaos and all of the destruction of the middle class is all created by the banks. The banks have done it all.
I really appreciate that, because we started on that just a second ago, which is get your money out of the banks and brokerages. But number two, you have to take the next step as well, which is get it out of the paper currency that it's in.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Whatever happens to that currency happens to everything that you have in that currency, whether it's stocks and bonds or or any other investment.
Right. Pension funds. People, for example, they're now saying, and the brokerages selling this, gold brokerages say, move your pension fund into gold. Well, that's kind of okay, but it's even better to move your pension fund into Karatbar currency, because if you have Karatbar currency and you build a business, you're going to get an ongoing income, and you're going to have savings that's going to be exchangeable in the future when they devalue all these other currencies. And you're, like this analogy you did last week, a gram of gold will buy 20 loaves of bread in 1922, and a dollar would do the same thing. But now a dollar buys you a third of a loaf of bread, and a gram of gold will still buy you 20 loaves of bread.
That's right.
And that's pretty significant. What it means basically is that people are heading for catastrophe. They're about to have all of their savings bailed in. The Fed Reserve, the Canadian government, the British government, and the European governments have all said this is a policy of the banks that if the currencies start to collapse, your deposits are unsecured. Now, that means everything, from pension funds to bank deposits to the value of even your home. And it doesn't mean the commodities are going to get cheaper, because they're going to go up, because there's going to be less and less food and commodities go around the world that are consumable, and that means you want to have currency to buy them when the dollar dies, because it's going to die, but it'll die slower than the other currency. Welcome back, and now Pete, let's talk about how to build a business. And we've had a tremendous response from people. And by the way, the people we're getting in, don't worry, even if you decide to get in next year, we're going to work hard with you people downline to build your business. And we will be sponsoring, if you, let's say, we have gentlemen that Michelle's talking to right now that are being, and ladies that are being put into our network, we're going to sponsor people under them immediately as we build that downline, which means as soon as you get in, you're immediately going to start benefiting. You're actually in our network. We're, in a sense, working with you to build your business. How do they do that, Pete? Because this is very dynamic, and the momentum here at Nutrimedical and the power is going to make a big, big difference, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. You do want to do the proverbial, the first in is the best position to be in, but it's always going to benefit no matter when you get in. But there's effectively two programs that work. One pays out once per month, and the other one pays out, I call it a capital acceleration program, which pays out on a weekly basis. And that's where the most is made, if you will. And I would strongly urge people, if they are interested, to get on board, get a package, which is how you participate in that capital acceleration program, and start buying gold on a regular basis, whether it's weekly or monthly, and then start introducing it to folks, because the faster you grow the business, the faster you earn your way to perpetually free gold. And,
right, and that could happen as early as say, between 6 and 12 weeks with the weekly plan you mentioned. And it also means you're going to have an alternative income, because what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing hyperinflation as they start devaluing the currencies. And what I expect is the pressure, for example, right now under the euro is going to devalue it, but the gold that you buy isn't going to be devalued. And the interesting thing is the dollar is going to follow less fast than the other currencies, but eventually the only solution the bankers have is to do that. So when you start doing this, you're immediately creating a stream of income to maintain your lifestyle. So you've got savings, because it's a savings program, a savings club. It's a business club where you're going to help other people to develop a business and get the vision of a gold-based economy that eventually will be linked to a gold-based encrypted bartering economy where it's credit, not debit-based or debt-based. This is really exciting to me. This is literally a solution to the coming situation that I call the mark of the beast system, which is they get rid of all currency in your pocket, so they have to have biometrics, and all the money is in their electronic computers, divots, that's fractional reserve debt. That's what the government wants to do. That's what the globalists want to do, and that's their only solution, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, the one of the great advantages of Karatbars is that if you get a package, you're getting discounts towards the future purchase of gold. So if you're buying, I should correct my statement there. If you're exchanging in paper currency, which is intrinsically worthless, for gold, which is 100% intrinsic value, you're actually going to save more than you gave up to get the package. Plus, you have the gold to show for it, and quite literally, you're probably going to end up with an income stream that exceeds what you need to be getting gold on a regular basis.
Yeah, because here's how it works. So let's say you have someone that buys a bronze package. They sponsor one person a month and have them do the same thing. Start on an automatic 1 gram per month. That's all they have to do. And that's minimum. This is a minimalist situation. Not in our Nutrimedical network. It's going to be much faster than that because we're going to help people sponsor under them. At the end of 1 year, if you replicate yourself every month, just one person, and those one people then replicate themselves and generate just one person, at the end of 1 year, the mathematics works out that you'll have an income of $18,000 a month. Now, not everybody's going to do that. Some people are going to sit by. For example, we have one gentleman who wants to really support us here at Nutrimedical. So he's going to buy a VIB package, but he's going to go on a weekly purchasing of gold at a very large amount of gold Karatbar cards every week. And what that means is that you'll accumulate points, even if he's just a big purchaser. He wants to be involved in the gold-based economy. He may not necessarily sell, but perhaps what will happen is he'll have people underneath him sponsored that will place, that will be what we call geodes, that want to build a business. But the people that are like him that show up that want to just be purchasers, they also generate income for you because they're purchasing gold because they know they can buy gold coins, they can buy, numismatic coins with special markings on them. But if they buy a Karatbar currency that's supporting a gold-based economy that's a solution for the world economy that's going to crash. And the exciting thing to me is it's so easy to get in, $113 and change to get a bronze, and roughly $55 a month to start a automatic purchase of 1 gram of gold per month. What could be easier? And then if you do higher, you can upgrade your package to a silver, gold, or we bought right away VIP for our family and for our sons. So what we got them gold packages. What that means is they're immediately going to start generating income. They have a MasterCard where they'll be actually having deposits placed into their card for the downline that we develop under them. So they'll have a savings. They'll have gold itself as well as the savings. They'll have it physically shipped to them, so they'll actually physically have these vaulted gold cards. And at the end of the year, they'll actually be able to get Karatbar currency, actual physical notes, and the idea that there'll be vendors starting to pick up Karatbars to be actually buying and selling things all over the world. This is very exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. One thing I just do want to be clear and point out, though, is that Nutrimedical is very serious about helping everybody out and effectively building power legs.
Right.
So it will require that people, number one, buy a package, and number two, do some of their own work in order to balance what Nutrimedical is doing on their other side.
They'll have to sponsor their own people because they have 2 legs, and we're going to help build a lot of people under both legs, but you need to put your own people on, and you need to also replicate yourself. In other words, you need to become a mentor to help other people, and we will help you along with Pete, who's our mentor, right up the line to all the experts that are in the gold group that really are top-notch. In fact, there's one lady, her name I think is Nikos. She started last year, and I think she sponsored 17,000 people in 1 year through their downline legs. And I don't know what her income is, but it must be phenomenal in 1 year to do that. I mean, I'm sure that she's got a 9-figure income now, probably in the range of, millions of dollars a year.
I would think so. I honestly don't know what it is either, but that's private, of course. But the point being is that if she can do it, anybody can do it. If
right.
Dr. Bill can do it. Anybody can do it. If it's just.
You don't have to stop your own job. You don't have to stop your current job. We have people who are engineers, retirement firemen. We have millionaires. We have mothers that want to stay at home, that want to do a business, that have new babies. This is amazing business. I mean, and you can communicate with people by phone, by Skype. They have conferences as you get more involved in this. You can always contact your upline to give you help to kind of answer questions like, why would I buy Karatbar currency at a premium when it's a vaulted gold card or currency or these other factors instead of just going to a broker? Well, we answered that. Why do I want to get involved in the gold currency system that's going to replace the dollar and the euro and these other things so that I can buy and sell in Karatbars currency or fractions of a gram instead of having to use dollars? For example, eventually you'll see grocery stores, movie theaters, airlines, and so on taking Karatbar currency or fractions of Karatbar currency as their payment for goods and services. That's what's going to be coming in the next year.
Absolutely. There's really no downside. I mean, number one, you're going to preserve your purchasing power, and that's the main thing. Everybody should be looking to preserve their purchasing power. And what I mean by that is as you acquire paper currency right now, you have to spend it as fast as you can receive it in order to get the full value, as much of the full value as you can. With Karatbars, you get to exchange paper currency, something that has zero intrinsic value, for something that has 100% intrinsic value, which is gold, and you thereby afford yourself the opportunity to spend it when you want to spend it. Right. And that's a big change and a big paradigm shift. You're not actually spending money, you're exchanging it.
Yeah, but that's neat. You see, you're not buying a degradable good or service. You're actually buying something that actually is vaulted gold, a current economy based on credit and on a real solid currency. So eventually they're going to be tied to our, say, electronic bartering currency. It is an amazing new economy, and I tell people, get involved with the business. We'll help build it for you. We're going to build power legs. You get involved now. We will be working with you here at Nutrimedical. We've looked for all kinds of alternatives to help people's health. Let the old system die. Move beyond it. Take the good parts out of medicine, which I teach every day. We'll talk in the next hour or so. And then take and build the new parts into it, which is like Karatbar currency. Get involved with the business. Call Michelle, 888-212-8871, and she'll get you started. And Karatbar.